Welcome to Coffee and the Bull.
The life expectancy of a retired police officer is like only a couple years.
It's a couple years.
It's not long.
There are actually some. When I first got into it, I remember hearing some of the older guys talking about a guy that they knew personally that they had worked with. They worked calls with him, and he had taken and retired. And before he got his first retirement check, he had kicked the bucket.
Right.
Just because he the conversation they were having was, he lost his sense of purpose or whatever. And so
Right.
guys have a lot of that, where we lose ourselves in work. And that's why when you go up to you meet a new dude or whatever, you're sitting there talking to him. One of the I say within the first 5 minutes, it's, hey man, what do you do? What do you do for a living? And that's how we judge people.
Right.
Because if I come up to you and you're like, hey, man, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm an accountant. I know I probably don't have anything in common with you.
Right.
And they're not going to be mean to you, but I just don't. I don't do numbers.
Right.
I don't do math.
What excites you probably doesn't excite me.
But we judge people we judge guys based on what they do for a living. But sometimes we get stuck in dead end jobs, and what I mean by that is more of things that we think aren't, or that we find not to be fulfilling,
Right.
Because it's like, hey, I make really good money. Okay, you might make $200,000 a year, working like it's not uncommon for the guys in our area to work in plants,
Right.
Those of you
Or the
not
oil
around
fields and stuff
Louisiana
like that.
Don't know what I'm talking about. Refineries, nuclear plants, things like that. They do a lot of stuff with chemicals and everything. So. It's not uncommon for them to do boiler making or pipe fitting or mill writing and make six figures very, very easily. But a lot of them hate their job, and some of them they'll enjoy it, they'll talk about different things or whatever. But the fulfillment of it is not there. They're chasing one job after another because they do temporary jobs,
Right.
And then they take in you get laid off real quick. So it's like. I know my father-in-law, he spent, decades working for some of these companies, and they laid him off one day, and he's like, I put all my time in doing this, and so now he's found something that he enjoys a lot better. It's his thing, but we spend a lot of times doing these jobs that, just because, hey, we're stuck in it, it's all I've ever done or whatever. Well, there's plenty of jobs out there. You just have to be willing to jump, jump the surface, or jump into the new boat, for lack of a better term.
My back is still killing me. We
You still complain about it?
we did some laser tag, and we towed some kids up.
We had a couple of kids who decided they wanted to mess with us on laser tag, and there were no prisoners taken.
Right. I'm not trying to brag. It was definitely 2 on everyone else. 3 W's came out of that. Just saying on this side. But I backed into a wall. I hurt myself.
Yeah, in front of them we were talking trash and
Oh,
everything, but
hard.
as soon as we got into this room, it was like, oh my God, my back hurts,
Right.
my leg hurts. Why'd I wear these shoes?
Why was I running at some
I should have
point?
stretched beforehand.
Right.
Did you see that time I fell into the wall?
Oh man. But back to the topic here. No, I think people get stuck in the traditional roles of a man of provider, protector, and we snag up a job because in our brain we're very calculated in that aspect, and we say, I have to make this much an hour and work this much a week to bring home this much a paycheck,
Right.
and I can cover this bill, this bill, this bill, this bill, and we snag up that first opportunity to do that, but we never expand and go, maybe I can find a different job that gives me the provider ability, but also a satisfaction.
Right.
And a happiness. And I know we talk about it all the time. Even with our job, there are days it just sucks. It's,
and that's no matter what your job.
Right, right.
Whoever come up with the, hey, find something you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. They're so full of crap. There's nothing.
Right.
There's nothing that you can do. And you look at people who play video games. They stream video games day in and day out. That still becomes work. And there's days they do not want to do the editing, and they don't want to go, hop on and deal with people.
Yep.
you have it where no matter what you do, it becomes work when that's all you do.
Right.
And so you can like it all you want in the beginning. Now you can find something that's rewarding, and honestly, you can find stuff in the same field. Like I have left a previous employer to be at the one I'm at now, and that was I took roughly a $10,000 pay cut to go do it, or to be where I'm at now. But it has been such a better place.
Right.
My stress level's down.
Well, there were other circumstances behind it as well, but
this was a better spot for me.
Right.
And so it was one of the things where sometimes you have to be willing to step out and you got to take a harsh analyzation.
Right.
I think I made up a word, but.
No,
you gotta,
I give it to you.
You gotta
somebody check Webster's.
You gotta be very clear, or no matter what it does to your feelings, you have to be like, hey, this is not good for me, or this is good for me. It could be both, or it could be, it could go both ways. So it's one of those things where we find ourselves having those bad days.
Right.
Sometimes it's just going to be a bad day. Like you don't get an opportunity to wake up and know, hey, on February 19th of 2027, it's going to be a bad day. Be prepared.
Right.
Go ahead, stay home. You don't get that opportunity. You just get to ride the waves, baby.
Right.
And sometimes we have to accept, hey, there's going to be bad days. I would like to say there's going to be good days. Sometimes they're just not there. But it's, I know for me it's helped out whenever I get a call somebody and say, hey, look, and be angry, be sad, be overly joyful, whatever the emotion is. Having somebody to take and just be unapologetically genuine is a massive thing that honestly helps my home life out a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think that if we could realize that how much weight that our friends could carry,
regardless of what weight they're carrying.
Right.
Because
not once have you been like, hey, Mike, I can't deal with your stuff right now. I got too much other, or vice versa,
Right.
Not once have been like, nah. Now, there might be a time where, like, hey, I'm in an attic. I can't do this right now. I'm working on the AC.
Right. There's no hard feelings
Give me
with that.
20 minutes and I'll come down to breathe.
There's no hard feelings on that.
But it's, some timing is obviously a thing.
Right.
But it's never been like, look, I'm mentally I can't take on this extra stuff. Because honestly, a lot of our friends, I know we do it, and I think it's a guy thing. We are so mean to our friends.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would rather listen to you vent and complain for 30 minutes to an hour on the off chance that I get something to make fun of you for later.
That's valid too.
That's just how it is,
Right.
It's and so it's one of those things where guys are really weird creatures.
Yeah.
And we're very simple people, and I get why we have so many female followers or female people listening to us, because kind of giving them an inside view to how dumb we kind of are,
Right. Oh man, I want to jump back to the leaving thing of leaving your job and going to another job. One thing that I will advocate, if that's something that you may consider, that might be on your plate, never walk away from one job until you've got the other one in the bag. And don't shoot yourself in the foot on the way out. And what I mean by that is I left one agency.
Middle fingers out the door.
Right.
Yeah.
I left an agency for another agency. And when I did it, I felt like at this agency I was spinning my wheels and I was, no matter how good I did, I couldn't get ahead. And I was just looked at like another number. And I fell for what I believe to be where everything over here is shiny and gold and pretty, and the grass is going to be greener on this side of the fence. And when I left, I didn't burn the bridge, but they weren't happy with the way I left the bridge.
Right.
And I can't say that 100% the other agency lied or misled me. I can't say that. I can honestly say that when I crossed that bridge and I got to that other side, the opportunity was there, but there were things that either
it was different than
what
was
and
represented.
there was things that I wasn't willing to do, and there were things that they weren't willing to do in a meet in the middle situation. And of course, as I've always said, I have a big mouth and I'll say exactly what I think and what I feel, and that shot me in the foot because they weren't prepared for that brutal honesty. They weren't used to somebody on the bottom of the totem pole walking in and just being like, no, let me tell you what I really think. And so, granted, I had another job lined up before I left this job. And when I left the Harley Davidson, I didn't. I legit, the day that I walked out, I was like,
right,
I'm out. And it still took time from doing that to get into the law enforcement career that I started. And so I had to pick up another job and almost didn't go into law enforcement because this job was like, we're going to pay you hand over fist.
right.
But this was an office job, and I was not happy there.
Do you know the only job that I ever quit at a moment's notice? Did I ever tell you this? So it was pre-law enforcement, right? It was before I decided to. It was one of the things where my wife came up to me and she's like, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I was like, "Well, I'm thinking about being a cop." She goes, "Either do it or don't, but stop talking about it." Because it was for years. Man, I wish I was a cop. I wish after college I would have went into this or that or whatever. And so she had listened to it enough.
Right,
she's
right.
like, "Look, you're getting older." Granted, I was late 20s at the time, but
Right.
you also typically you enter this field at 18, not
Right,
28.
Right, which we've agreed is a stupid age to enter this field.
So she had told me, but anyway, I was working as a pipe fitter for they were building a plant, right? And one of the things they had was this flare. I think I was there. They were expecting the job to be a couple of years, but I think I was only there for like 2 months, maybe a month, something like that. No, 2 months, right? And it was a horrible job. Like it was horrible people to work for. If you were slow walking out of the tent and you were past a specific minute mark, like you had 30-minute lunch, at minute 31, if you were still in that tent for whatever reason, you were terminated. Like there was no grace at all.
Wow.
And so I hated the job to begin with. And so we had they were building a big flare stack. I think it was I don't know the exact dimension. I think it might have been 100 feet tall, 150 feet tall, or something like that. And so you would have a bunch of guys, because I'm scared of heights.
Right.
I'll do some stuff at height, but the OSHA guy will never find me not tied off, not or any of that. Like I'm not that guy to be. Oh, I'm just gonna walk over there real quick and be right back, and then fall to my. Not going to happen.
Right.
And so I remember they had me go to the base of the flare stack one day because it was common for the workers. By the time you climb up to the top to do all the welding or bolting up or whatever they're doing, if you got to go to the bathroom, it's a 30-minute climb back down. Like to do it correctly, it's very, very tedious. So what they were doing, for whatever reason, they thought this was a great idea, is they would bring Gatorade bottles or whatever, and they would urinate in those and just drop them off the side, because what's worse than walking underneath and getting hit with one of those, Well, gravity says the little thin plastic on the Gatorade bottle is not going to hold up to the impact of concrete whenever it falls from 100 feet up in the air. So there's a spot at the base of this flare stack where there's urine everywhere. You smell it, like what's going on over here. I took and I finished one of the jobs because I still, even though I didn't like the job, I still did my job, and so I finished up my job and put my tools in my box, and the foreman comes up to me and goes, "Hey, I need you to go to the base of the flare stack, and I need you to clean all that up." I said, "Excuse me?" He goes, "Yeah, go over there. There's a bunch of bottles and everything. I need you to go over there and clean it up." I said, I'll be damned if you think I'm about to go clean up a bunch of grown men's pee bottles.
Nope.
Like it's
right
not,
there with
like
you.
I'll do a lot of stuff. I'm not doing that. And well, that's your job. Either you're gonna do it or you can go home. Load my stuff up now. Like just straight up walked off. I was like, they had to get a forklift. Hey man, look, we don't want you to leave. Nope, I'm going home. I'm going home, and I will not be back.
Right.
And I was when I showed up at home, Brittany's like, "I guess you quit today, didn't you?" To be fair, it was probably a long time coming, but that was the only time I was like, I don't care if I burn this bridge, I'll never come back to here.
Right. I had a job one time. It was they made I-beams out of wood, and the job was, it paid good, and not quite as strict. And thankfully, the guy who was kind of like the supervisor or whatever was a buddy of mine. And so, like, I didn't slack off. It was overnight anyway.
Yeah, you did.
But, like, he was never going to come at me for taking a smoke break. He was never going to come at me for being out for an extra minute or two or whatever. But he was one of those guys, and to this day, to his credit, he is still this guy. He's very chipper, very happy. You could be like, hey, man, we're going to go crawl 100 yards through feces. And he'd be like, all right, let's go get it done. Let me put my hair up, because he had very long hair at the time.
Right.
And so we get in there, and they have these really, really long presses where, you know, thin sheets of plywood come out. They got to get graded, and then they go through the machine. It all gets pressed down, and then it eventually they cut that down, and they make it into the I-beams. And so these presses are long. I mean, the presses are probably a good 100 feet long, you know, maybe longer than that. Mm-hmm. And they're big machines. They're loud as hell. You got to have earplugs in and earmuffs over that. And to shut it down, it takes two guys. They got their keys, they go and they shut down the whole machine, right? And it's a process. It's a safety process, and they got to shut it down in sections. Once it's all shut down, then two people go in it, and it's a safety process thing, you know, and then you have one guy that stands on the outside, another guy stands by all the controllers to make sure nobody comes by and turns it all out. They call it a lockout. So one day they come by, and they said, John, you're the new guy. We need you to go inside the press, go all the way to the back. There's like glue or tar or whatever it is that's in there. It's built up. They hand me this little dinky scraper, and they said, you're going to have to scrape it all off. And I was like, what am I scraping? And they said, well, it's about a 5-foot section. It's about a foot wide, and you got to scrape about 2 inches worth of this glue off. It's going to take about 2.5 to 3 hours. You're in a building that's got no air conditioning, inside of a press that is hot. I mean, it's just steaming hot. And I was like, no, it's not going to happen. And they were like, yeah, no, that's what we need you to do. And you can't bring anything to drink with you past a certain point, because if you spill any liquid in this machine, you could damage it. And I'm like, I'm going to be dripping sweat. It's going to get damaged because I'm going to drip a lot of sweat. And they're like, no, you be all right. No. And I looked at the guy. Ironically, his name's also Mike. And I looked at Mike, and I was like, I'm not doing that. And he was like putting his hair up in his little man bun to go in there. He's like, oh, come on, buddy. It'll be great. I'll go with you. And I was like, you be going by yourself, because I'm not doing that. Like, that's just too much.
I'll be like, hey, this is where I'm stopping.
Yeah. And in my brain, I'm not claustrophobic by any means. Right. But the way that they were describing that, I'm going to have to crawl and squeeze and crawl and squeeze. And I'm like,
yeah, so when you start overheating and everything starts losing shape, and it gets hard.
Like, I've got no muscle left to get out.
Coming back out of the thing.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of that. Yeah, I drove home.
Some really weird jobs.
I've had some
weird expectations, man.
Right. So, like, I remember getting home, and the ex-wife was sitting there, and she was like, you've only been at work for 2.5 hours. That's a 12-hour job. And I was like,
not no more. It's not.
No, I'm going to be looking for a new job.
Right.
Because no. And that's actually how I ended up all the way down to Ponchatoula. Because I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, there are jobs I'm built for. That's not one of them.
Right.
That's plant life is not for me. Refineries not for me. And anything that doesn't have AC off and on at a consistent and regular basis, that's not for me. I'm not a big guy, but I'm not built for obnoxious heat any longer. The 20s are over for me.
Right.
But essentially, if you're out here listening to our ridiculous stories and randomness throughout our lives, the big takeaway from today for everybody that's listening is having an outlet that's safe in a sense of I can open up and I can express certain things, or I can get some anger or get some tension out of my life. It's a great tool to have, but understand that it's not the permanent solution. It's a temporary solution to help you get to the end without causing or leaving a path of destruction of whether it's self-destruction, relationship destruction, marriage destruction, or whatever you end up, doing if you don't do those things. Because we all have been there. We've all heard about, the guy, I think they call him Kyles now or something like that drink the monsters and destroy their mom's living room or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
So, right. So, before you punch holes in the wall, before, if you know that you're in a headspace that when you walk in that door, you could potentially blow up or have a bad day and take it out on your wife or take it out on your children or whatever, stop somewhere. Call somebody. Or if you know, hey, I've got a 30-minute drive, call somebody on the way home and get that off your chest before you walk in. You're not depriving your significant other of a part of you.
Right.
You're preventing it from becoming a situation where she feels like you're attacking her, or she feels like every time she asks how your day went, she gets this angry burst of blow up. Or on the other side of it, you come in the house and just you had a bad day, and the house is a disaster because she's been at home all day, or she's been with the kids all day, or maybe you don't have kids, you got a dog, and the dog destroyed the house. And you walk in, and the first thing you do is blow up about the mess in your house, or you blow up about, something trivial that in reality, this is not the end of the world. This isn't going to make or break. This isn't going to, really be something that bothers you. But in that moment, you went too far because you're angry at everything else in life. Take that time to call somebody, or even, stop and go to the side of the road and just slam rocks on the side of the road. I've definitely done that. I've stopped in a field before because I didn't know what else to do. I was young and I didn't have anything else. I just stood in the field and just chucked rocks into a big-ass lake for a good hour before I was like, I'm tired, go home. So find another outlet, because we have gotten to a point where we've realized sometimes having that explosive outburst on somebody who's not prepared and isn't aware that it's coming has a detrimental effect to what you're going through already, but also you can make your molehill into a big mountain of a problem, and you've compounded your problem. You haven't solved your problem or chipped away at your problem. That was very profound of me. You're welcome.
Something. So, guys, we appreciate y'all taking a listen to our episode today. I hope it helps. If anything, if it was just entertaining, that's all we're. That could be the goal of this for you. But do us a favor, guys. If you haven't hit that like, subscribe, share, comment button, all those different things, please hit those. That's how we can gauge what platforms are being the most effective. But also that's how those platforms gauge how effective we are.
Correct.
So if you haven't done that yet, I know you think it's just one person. No, we pay attention to every single update that we get, every single comment, things like that. We might be a little delayed in getting to them.
Yep.
But we do get to them. Do that for us. If you haven't done so, if you specifically Facebook, if you're on Facebook and you're watching this, or you use Facebook to access some of it, because I think the links are on Facebook.
Yeah.
Go and leave us a review on our page. We've had 3 people leave reviews. They've all been great, but also that's how other people. We always look at reviews before we go do something. So take and go leave us a review. Tell us how great we're doing, how horrible we're doing. Whichever one. Be honest about it. That's what we're asking. Okay. We're not asking you to lie about it. But if you have something you'd like to talk about, hear about, let us know. Shoot us an email at coffeeandthebull@yahoo.com. John's obviously got something stupid he's about to say.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Don't forget to send us an email, coffeeandthebull@yahoo.com. If you happen to get on and Google us, and you look at the iHeartRadio description,
that's not us. It goes to us.
It goes to us. It does. The link will get you to us. However, we don't know anything about Champagne, Satanism, the Stonewall Uprising, Chaos Theory, LSD, El Nino, true crime, Rosa Parks. Well, I mean, Rosa Parks. Kind of know a little bit
Well, we
about
know
that.
about some of those, but
Right. Not the
somebody's
Satanism
description
thing.
for something else got somehow
Right.
put with ours. We did not write that.
Right. So I did look it up, and that is the general description for iHeartRadio. For whatever reason,
okay.
it falls under us. Because I looked
Right.
up other stations on iHeartRadio, and it's not under theirs. I think it just gave us that general
Gotcha.
description.
So, guys, we would like to hear from you one way or the other, whether it's a comment, whether it's a review, an email. I'd really like to get some emails. I think that'd be a great way for us to be able to converse back and forth, and kind of have, because we've had one lady reach out to talk about something that happened with her husband.
Yep.
And we're trying to find the best way to go about that. So it's one of those things where you will get one of us. We don't. We're poor. We don't have people working for us.
Not
you
yet.
will have us commenting and getting back with you about it. So, guys, for now, unless you got something else.
Next episode, Mike's going to wear booty shorts and torque.
Toodaloo.
Stupid.